Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 7, The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 171, 846 Complete Defeat. 171st of Volume 7. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. The evil camel bell hung at Li Wei's waist, swaying with each shift of his body technique and emitting dull, resonant sound wave. Around the bell, circles of nether mist expanded, while immortal inscription fragments flickered and floated. Li Wei sped along the wide, calm Qi River, pushing his speed to its limit. His psychic power locked firmly onto Yu Li, who was teleporting away. Only by killing her or driving her out of the immortal ascension competition could he secure victory. Otherwise, once Yu Li recovered and joined forces with Xu Xian, Li Wei's hard-won advantage would vanish. Whether he could hold out until the fifth quarter of midnight remained uncertain. Free from the mystic bird's burden, Xu Xian displayed body technique speed rivaling Li Wei's. Raising his arm, he unleashed Star River Sword Rain from afar. The sword rain, formed from immortal inscription fragments, stretched for miles, arcing across the sky and sweeping Li Wei from midair down to the water's surface. Shui Wuya, his twin wings unfurled, hovered above the sword pavilion complex, unleashing his absolute darkness domain. His body was swallowed by the darkness. Within the void, two wide spatial rifts opened behind him, connecting to unknown realms. Awu. Howl. Two dark true spirits, each 6 to 7 meters tall, squeezed through the spatial rifts and crawled out. Their bodies were ashen white, so emaciated that their bones showed through their skin. They had 3 eyes and long, sharp fangs, making them terrifyingly grotesque. An icy, bone-chilling aura surrounded them. They didn't seem to possess high intelligence. They emitted mournful howls from the corners of their mouths as they leapt and sprinted along the riverbank. Their malevolent aura was frigid, and their claws were as sharp as swords. In terms of speed alone, they surpassed even Shui Wuya, reaching the level of Li Wei and Xu Xian. With these two dark true spirits, Shui Wuya's combat strength had surpassed Long Lu, allowing him to overtake his rival. Boom. The relentless pursuit continued, Dao techniques and spiritual qi clashing in a deafening cacophony. The sounds of battle echoed for dozens of miles. The figures of the combatants flickered across the water's surface, soared into the sky, and plunged into the city domain. Each side fought with desperate ferocity, determined to annihilate the other. Li Wei relentlessly attacked Yu Li, unleashing the Nine Heavens Thunder Annihilation Sword from afar to weaken her protective defenses. Xu Xian pursued Li Wei relentlessly, engaging him in close quarters combat at every opportunity. Slash. The yellow dragon sword cleaved through the two dark true spirits, sending them flying from the street into the air above the buildings. Massive sword marks scarred their ashen white bodies. Flames erupted from the sword wounds. Amidst piercing screams of agony, the creatures were swiftly reduced to ashes. What kind of sword is that? The dark true spirit's physical body is even tougher than a spiritual artifact, and its internal dark evil energy is pure, yet it ignites upon contact. No wonder the true spirit sect's higher-ups took notice of him. Without the aid of the two dark true spirits, Shui Wuya immediately slowed his pursuit, quietly dropping behind Ku Wanchen, his heart heavy with apprehension. The battle with the Sword Dao Imperial Court's immortal ascension beings can cease now. Tang Shituo's telepathic message reached Li Wei's ears. The Sword Dao Imperial Court is giving up so quickly. Li Wei had expected the fight to continue. At least until Yu Li was killed, Xu Xian was severely wounded, and the Sword Dao Imperial Court's higher-ups abandoned their illusions. War is merely the continuation of the struggle for power. Now that Tang Shituo, representing Yu Yaozi, had negotiated terms and benefits with the Sword Emperor, there was no need to prolong the Immortal Ascension competition. Further fighting would only result in mutual destruction. Xu Xian and Ku Wanchen visibly slowed their pace, their ranged attacks losing accuracy, consistently landing to Li Wei's left or right. Clearly, they had received telepathic instructions from the Sword Dao Imperial Court's higher-ups and were merely awaiting a dignified opportunity to withdraw. With that, Li Wei cast aside all restraint. His double pupils narrowed, focusing on Yu Li's retreating figure, who remained oblivious to the dramatic shift in the situation, still clinging to the delusion of turning the tide. Whoosh. The remaining four-colored spiritual light within the spirit realm between his eyebrows erupted in a brilliant burst. Simultaneously, he subtly activated the evil camel bell, preparing to strike Yu Li's soul spirit at the critical moment to prevent her from conceding and withdrawing. Since the start of the Immortal Ascension competition, Li Wei had endured relentless pursuit and encirclement by the Demon Kingdom, facing countless perils. He refused to leave without claiming the head of at least one number 1 scholar. Yu Li fled at breakneck speed, noticing the surrounding architecture bathed in four-colored spiritual light and the rising temperature, like the morning sun warming the earth. She couldn't resist glancing back, only to find Li Wei's figure had vanished. Her gaze shifted upward. There he hung suspended in the void, hands clasped in prayer, his expression serene and dignified, like a sacred Buddhist cultivator. The ancestral field released spiritual qi, devoid of spiritual light, as psychic martial mystic fusion twisted and intertwined, clearly preparing to unleash the imperial technique, sixfold samsara burning karma technique. This was the clasped palm seal. The sixth layer of sixfold samsara burning karma technique. Yu Li remained composed despite Li Wei's deployment of the psychic martial fusion imperial technique. Today's battle was not a one-on-one duel. Xu Xian, Ku Wanchen, and the others would undoubtedly seize this opportunity to deliver a fatal blow. Yu Li burst into even greater speed, only to find herself unable to escape the sixfold samsara burning karma imperial technique's attack range. The city domain beneath her feet and the sky above all erupted into flames. Dozens of miles of urban area transformed into a sea of glazed pure flame. This was the first time Li Wei had the opportunity to fully unleash his psychic martial fusion during the Immortal Ascension competition. Something's wrong. Yu Li felt as if she were trapped in a furnace, waves of heat surging from all directions as layers of qi pressed down upon her. Sensing the danger, her eyes widened as she frantically searched for her allies. Why hadn't Xu Xian seized this opportunity to kill Li Wei? Instead, he had given him the chance to unleash his imperial technique. Yu Li, displaying the combat prowess of a nation's #1 scholar, quickly suppressed her shock. Raising one hand above her head, she channeled her demonic qi and immortal inscription, condensing her trump card secret technique. Illusory images of the 8 trigrams and 8 beasts materialized around her. With her other hand, she retrieved a protective talisman, pinching it between her index and middle fingers. Boom. Li Wei separated his clasped palms, which had been pressed together at his chest. The palm lines spread out like 2 5-fingered clouds as he struck downward. The glazed pure flame in the surrounding heavens and earth converged into his palms, transforming into a formidable and domineering palm strike. The glazed pure flame and demonic qi collided in a violent clash, surging upward and downward respectively. The defensive formations surrounding the city domain erupted in brilliant light. Yu Li clenched her teeth, her long hair flying wildly as her sleeves tore apart. Her spiritual artifact robes burst into flames and disintegrated. The ground beneath her feet shattered and collapsed. She stood motionless, blood streaming from her mouth. Her other hand, still clutching a talisman, released a vibrant green talisman light that enveloped her slender frame, shielding her from the residual force of Li Wei's sixfold samsara burning karma technique palm strike. Xu Xian, Ku Wanchen, and Shui Wuyi arrived in quick succession, secretly relieved. They recognized that Yu Li had activated a high-grade protective talisman, blocking Li Wei's most powerful attack. This meant she was now out of the Immortal Ascension competition. With Yu Wan eliminated, they finally had a legitimate reason to withdraw. That's. Shui Wuyi's crimson eyes narrowed sharply. Through the talisman light, they saw blood seeping continuously from Yu Li's chest, forming a large, conspicuous crimson pool at her feet. Thud. Yu Li's body fell backward, splashing into the pool of blood. Her beautiful face was frozen in shock and resentment. Even in her final moments, she seemed bewildered, unable to comprehend how a heaven's chosen daughter of such noble birth, who had once dazzled an entire era, could meet such an abrupt end. From her perspective, she was saving the crumbling demon kingdom, prolonging the demon monarch's life, and preventing internal strife that would leave it vulnerable to foreign conquest. As a member of the royal clan, she bore this responsibility without question. The talisman light dissipated with the wind. Li Wei descended with the swirling snow, retrieved the shadowless sword from beside Yu Li's corpse, flicked off the blood, and turned to face Shui Wuyi. Earlier, when Yu Li fled, she hadn't had time to retrieve the shadowless sword, which Li Wei had concealed in his sleeve. This strike was precisely what he had been waiting for. Just now, Yu Li had only activated her protective talisman successfully after the shadowless sword had already pierced her body, a split-second delay. That split second had determined life and death. Xu Xian and Ku Wanchen exchanged a glance and decisively retreated, vanishing into the deep, frigid night. Shui Wuyi had already sensed something amiss, noticing Xu Xian and Ku Wanchen's strange behavior. The moment Li Wei turned to face him, he immediately pulled the jade tome from his robes. I concede. Clang. The shadowless sword halted at his neck, severing a strand of hair. Li Wei stood opposite him, arm extended straight, sword poised, lightning arcs crackling across his body. Had Shui Wuyi conceded even a fraction of a second later, the blade would have already fallen. Shui Wuyi felt the bone-chilling cold against his neck, his body stiffening, his heart momentarily stopping. Gradually regaining his composure, Shui Wuyi forced a bitter smile. Li Kanjin, a 10-spring martial mystic cultivator, stands unrivaled among his peers. Even across generations, few can match his skill. Knowing I cannot defeat him, I concede this round of the Immortal Ascension competition. In 60 years, I will challenge your mastery again. Shui Wuyi's words were not directed at Li Wei, but at the Demon Kingdom's high-ranking officials and the surrounding observing cultivators. Today marked the final day of the 3-year competition. Shui Wuyi possessed more than one jade tome, he carried 3. He also retrieved various spiritual artifacts from his ancestral field and cosmic pouch, then cautiously retreated. Seeing Li Wei sheathe the shadowless sword, Shui Wuya transformed into a crimson crow, spread his wings, and vanished into the night sky. Yu Li had fallen in battle, and Shui Wuya was eliminated. When the 8th generation immortal cultivators of the Demon Kingdom and Sword Dao Imperial Court learned of this news, they were struck like lightning from a clear sky, their hearts filled with dread. Only a handful retained any will to fight. The 8th generation immortal cultivators of the Sword Dao Imperial Court reacted swiftly, retreating like a receding tide and melting into the darkness. They vanished without a trace, like salt dissolving in a lake. The Demon Kingdom's 8th generation immortal cultivators also retreated and concealed themselves, but their response was slower than that of their Sword Dao Imperial Court counterparts. Moreover, they were fighting on foreign soil, lacking the terrain advantage for concealment. Li Wei specifically targeted the 8th generation immortal cultivators of the Demon Kingdom. No one dared to challenge him. I surrender. One 8th generation immortal cultivator from the Demon Kingdom was cornered. Overwhelmed by Li Wei's spiritual qi, he knelt on one knee and immediately surrendered, offering the Jade Tome and spiritual artifact with both hands. Li Wei accepted the Jade Tome and spiritual artifact, then flicked his sleeve, sending the cultivator flying. The Demon Kingdom cultivator crashed into the distant defensive formation Light Veil, vomiting blood and unable to rise for a long time. The rules of the Immortal Ascension competition only forbade malicious killing of Immortal Ascension beings, with no restrictions on giving them a good beating. That afternoon, they had shown no mercy. Boss Li, we're here to lend a hand. We'll help you collect spiritual artifacts and seize Jade Tomes. I can track the chi signatures of some of the immortal cultivators. 2nd Phoenix, 4th Phoenix, 5th Phoenixes, and 7th Phoenixes descended from the night sky, joining Li Wei. 2nd Phoenix informed Li Wei that Azure Spider and the purple-faced Scorpion had already retreated. Let's go. Tonight, the Demon Kingdom must pay a sufficient price tonight. We'll split up and hunt them down one by one. Carrying 4 phoenix-winged moth emperors, Li Wei scoured the city for 8th generation immortal cultivators from the Demon Kingdom. Battles rarely erupted, most opponents surrendered immediately upon being found. Naturally, a thorough beating followed. Some managed to escape the city, but Li Wei didn't pursue them, knowing the unpredictable dangers that lay beyond the walls. From the afternoon's grueling gauntlet to the evening's cat and mouse chase, the tides of fortune had turned completely. Open the door. Open the door. Demon slaying. 2nd Phoenix, tracking the scent, arrived at a mansion and shouted loudly, kicking down the door and shattering the formation. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 7. The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 172, 847, Welcoming the Triumphant Return, The Sword Debate Banquet. 172nd of Volume 7. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. Li Wei sped through the city, drawing cheers and applause wherever he went. Young cultivators with powerful backers secretly sent him telepathic messages, revealing the hiding places of the Demon Kingdom's 8th generation immortal cultivators, hoping to curry favor. In this manner, he captured 17 individuals by the time midnight approached. All traces had vanished, and scents had dissipated. Searching for anyone in the Imperial City now would be like finding a needle in the ocean. The 4 phoenix-winged moth emperors each carried a cosmic pouch in their claws, their bountiful harvest filling them with glee as they hurried toward the South City Heavenly Pavilion with Li Wei, eager to attend the Imperial City Sword Debate Banquet. Some of the Demon Kingdom's immortal cultivators, fearing a beating, had proactively offered Millennium Essence herbs and other treasures, greatly pleasing the moths. Shui Qianshu remained steadfastly behind Li Wei. He had no choice. The Martial Dao Heavenly Emperor was outside the city, while the Zhenhai Guanwu was within the city. If anything went wrong with Li Wei, Shui Qianshu, as the enforcement group leader, would bear the greatest responsibility. Shui Qianshu sighed repeatedly, regretting ever accepting this assignment for the Immortal Ascension competition. He had initially assumed he would merely lend his name to the competition among these Immortal Realm juniors. Yet for the past 3 years, he had lived in constant fear, with increasingly powerful figures becoming involved. Having suffered such a humiliating defeat at the hands of the Heavenly Demon Empress and the Demon race, they can't possibly swallow their pride and let this go. Over 28th generation immortal cultivators from the Demon Kingdom have been eliminated, suffering heavy losses. Even the number 1 scholar and second ranked have fallen in battle, yet the Demon Kingdom's high command remains eerily silent. This is abnormal, utterly abnormal. Shui Qianshu could only wish for the 5th quarter of the midnight to arrive sooner. Once the Immortal Ascension competition concluded, any subsequent events would no longer be his concern. Li Wei. Seeing that the battle in the Immortal Ascension competition had reached its conclusion, Shui Qianshu finally sent a telepathic message to summon him. Then, he approached Li Wei. Li Wei glanced at the stack of jade tomes and the cosmic pouch Shui Qianshu produced, asking in confusion, "What are these?" Since noon, the enforcement group has been collecting the jade tomes and spiritual artifacts from the 8th generation immortal cultivators you eliminated, preventing the Demon Kingdom and Sword Dao Imperial Court from claiming them, Shui Qianshu explained. He added, both sides have often pushed the boundaries of the rules. The enforcement group has struggled to maintain absolute impartiality, but we've done our best. Li Wei had certainly noticed the enforcement group's assistance. Smiling, he accepted the jade tomes and cosmic pouch, bowing respectfully. Over the past 3 years, Deputy Sentinel Lord, you've shown me considerable favor. I've taken note of it all. I'm not one to remember grudges while forgetting kindness. Who should I contact to claim the territories and treasures listed in these jade tomes? Li Wei discovered the 2 pages of the jade tome contained excerpts from the earthly tome, though he couldn't tell whose they had been taken from. After the Immortal Ascension competition concludes, the enforcement group will calculate the final results and report them to the 100 Realms Academy. You can submit the jade tome to the Lingxiao Palace's High Command, or to me if you prefer. The contested territories will likely be converted into spiritual crystals, with both sides bidding to purchase them, though the final decision rests with the Lingxiao Palace. In any case, the outcome will be determined within 3 months. As for the spiritual artifacts you've seized, you may keep them. But be careful. After the 5th quarter of the midnight hour, neither the human race's leaders nor the rules of the Immortal Ascension competition will protect you. The combined value of all the artifacts you carry now is quite tempting, even to me. Shui Qianshu spoke earnestly, adding a warning, during the Immortal Ascension competition, you faced many dangers. But in truth, the old men who coveted you were restrained by the 100 Realms Academy's rules, daring not to act rashly. A tree that stands too tall in the forest, a child carrying gold, the crest of a wave, the center of all eyes. All your dangers have converged upon you. After each Immortal Ascension competition, the true disciples of the ancient sects and the Emperor's disciples tend to withdraw from the limelight, ceding the stage to the younger generation of the next 60-year cycle. Do you know why? Li Wei's expression turned solemn. Thank you for your concern, Deputy Sentinel Lord. After the competition, I will certainly retreat into seclusion to cultivate in secret, avoiding any ostentatious displays. Only by enduring the arduous journey to the Nirvana realm and condensing a heavenly core can I gain the self-preservation needed to truly establish myself among the ranks of the strong. My apologies for meddling. The Grand Palace Master undoubtedly has her own plans for your future cultivation. If you ever find yourself at the Great Void Camp or the Wing Dynasty, mentioning my name will serve you well. Those 2 Six Fiends heavenly winds were sold to Princess Yunchong at my behest. Such items are strictly prohibited in the Wing Dynasty, Shui Qianshu chuckled. With peerless talent among his generation and a crucial victory for the martial Dao Heavenly Emperor, Shui Qianshu could already foresee Li Wei's meteoric rise within a few centuries. He would become the 3rd most influential figure in the Lingxiao Palace, wielding immense power across the 100 realms of the living. At the 1st quarter of the midnight hour, 11:15 p.m., Li Wei returned to the South City Heavenly Pavilion. Outside the Heavenly Pavilion, a large contingent of soldiers and psychic masters were repairing the streets. As he approached, every eye turned to him in a mix of respect and awe. Li Kanjin has arrived. The jade steps leading up to the Heavenly Pavilion's entrance were thronged with people. Dozens of figures had gathered, craning their necks in anticipation. Zhang Ning, Tang Wanzhou, Tang Wanzhou, the Lu brothers, the Shaoyang division members, and the invited 8th generation immortal cultivators all stood outside to greet him, their faces beaming with smiles. It was as if they were welcoming a victorious hero returning in triumph, or perhaps the champion of the Imperial City Sword Debate Banquet. Li Wei hesitated, his gaze flickering between Zhang Ning and Tang Wanzhou. His heart was torn. He wanted to thank Zhang Ning first for her daring assistance, yet he also longed to ask Tang Wanzhou about her recent experience. Whom should he prioritize? A monumental dilemma lay before him. Li Wei ascended the jade steps, his eyes meeting Lu Jingchen and Lu Jingchen. With a confident smile, he asked, is the main course ready? Please don't make things difficult for us, Lu Jingchen hinted. We have transcendent grade dragon meat delicacies. How about second brother treats us all tonight? 1,000-Mile Mountain dared not offend the heavenly demon empress. Lu Jingchen, noticing Li Wei's awkwardness, smiled. It's an honor for 1,000-Mile Mountain to host the Imperial City Sword Debate Banquet. Grandfather has repeatedly instructed us that the Lu clan will cover all expenses tonight, and I'm fully responsible. Besides, what's a hero without a beauty? The Immortal Queen has already been selected to serve the number 1 on the Earth ranking tonight. Kai Haohan's envy and jealousy flared. I saw the Immortal Queen, her beauty is otherworldly. She's a holy spiritual psychic master with profound mastery of the zither. I'd rate her as the most beautiful woman in the 100 realms. The Holy Commander is truly blessed. That's just your opinion of the most beautiful woman, Qing Zijin retorted, her icy demeanor unchanged. Unlike her interactions with Li Wei, there was no hint of special affection in her tone. Captain Qing's confidence in claiming the title of most beautiful woman is admirable, Kai Haohan said sarcastically. With the Rice Palace's true disciple, the Void Ruins Holy Maiden, and the Imperial Court's #1 scholar present today, who dares claim the title of most beautiful? Laughter echoed through the South City Heavenly Pavilion as Li Wei, surrounded by admirers, strode in with unparalleled flair. Life's joys should be savored to the fullest, Li Wei declared, quickly shedding any pretense of arrogance and immersing himself in the festive atmosphere, mingling seamlessly with the crowd. At the banquet, one table was reserved for the Shaoyang Guard, while another was for the 8th-generation immortal cultivators. The immortal queen sat beside the rosy mist-shrouded spirit pool, her eyes lowered as her slender fingers brushed across the icy strings of her zither. The music began like the gentle drip of a nether spring, gradually swelling into the sound of pine wind sweeping through a valley, clear, distant, and resonant. Dozens of immortal messengers performed a dance, each a vision of peerless beauty. Zhang Ning and Tang Wanzhou sat on either side of Li Wei, exchanging toasts and engaging in brief, intimate conversations with him, offering words of concern and comfort. At the fourth quarter of the midnight hour, 11:45 p.m., Li Wei produced the first tier of the Golden Holy Bone manual cultivation method and passed it around for everyone to study. This was the true main course of the evening. The Shaoyang Guard and the 8th-generation immortal cultivators all rose to their feet and quickly gathered around the manual. Li Wei's gaze fell upon Tang Wanzhou, who stood alone by the window, gazing out at the imperial palace in the distance. Don't worry about the lion-taming king, Li Wei said, walking slowly to her side. The 3 lifetimes curse on him has been resolved. The Grand Palace Master came with us. Just then, a thunderous roar erupted from the Qi River outside. Fireworks exploded across the night sky and reflected in the water, illuminating the magnificent scenery of the imperial city along the riverbank for the two of them. What about you? Tang Wanzhou asked with a faint smile, her gaze fixed across the Qi River. At the banquet, you questioned Qing Zijin, Chong Yujian, and Zhao Tang about why they came to the Sword Dao Imperial City. Now I ask you, risking so much to come here, are you doing it more for the Grand Palace Master or for me? We all came for you, Li Wei replied gently. We're here to bring you home. He continued, when you left Cave Void Camp, you told me that the young Tang Wanzhou had died today. Now I want to ask you. How can we bring that young Tang Wanzhou back to life? Tang Wanzhou's eyes gradually welled with tears. She forced herself to keep them wide open, holding the tears back. A night breeze drifted in through the window. The tears slowly receded, her eyes regaining their resolute and radiant glow. Her posture straightened even further. With boundless ambition, Tang Wanzhou pointed at the 10,000 homes ablaze beyond the window. Let what must pass, pass. What must be reborn will be reborn. One day, I will make this city kneel at my feet, and I will personally reclaim every humiliation I've suffered. Li Wei. Thank you. Li Wei's heart swelled with joy, his face radiating a genuine, heartfelt smile. Such a smile and such a feeling would never have crossed his face when he killed Yu Li, Bu Lianxi, Long Lu, and the others. Killing had never been a joyous act. Amitabha, brother Li Wei, please respond. A Buddhist chant echoed from outside the door. The banquet hall fell silent as everyone turned toward the entrance, their faces etched with astonishment. After Li Wei revealed the first stage of the Golden Holy Bone Manual's cultivation method, layers of formations had been activated to isolate the hall from the outside world, preventing even the perception of powerful cultivators from penetrating. How had this voice bypassed such formidable defenses? Moreover, the voice wasn't loud, it seemed to whisper directly into Li Wei's ear. Such a feat was utterly astonishing. Don't worry, Lu Jingchen said calmly. The top experts from Thousand Mile Mountain are guarding the Heavenly Pavilion tonight. Li Wei stepped out of the formation and glanced down the left and right corridors, finding no one. May I ask where Senior is located and what guidance you offer? He inquired. Clearly, the speaker's true form was far away, their voice transmitted through extraordinary means. You need not know who this humble monk is. I have only 2 questions for you, and I ask that you answer truthfully. The voice remained gentle, resonating in Li Wei's ear. Li Wei responded cautiously, please ask, Master. Do you hail from Dichu? The voice inquired. Li Wei struggled to maintain his composure, his body jerking violently. His eyes widened as he blurted out, Senior, do you mean Dichu or Earth? Tiān, Earth in Chinese is called Dichu. Was the speaker's accent too thick? Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 7. The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 173, 848 The Zhang Clan. 173rd of Volume 7. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. After a long silence, the unknown Buddhist monk's voice finally spoke again. This humble monk has never heard of anything called Earth. Li Wei realized there had been a misunderstanding. His initial excitement faded as he shook his head and replied, "This junior is unfamiliar with what the master is referring to by Daicho. There is indeed a legend of Daicho on Earth, known in ancient times as Kunwu. It was said to be the capital of Sui Ren, one of the 3 sovereigns, and the tomb of Emperor Ku, one of the 5 emperors." However, since the monk hadn't even heard of Earth, it was clear he wasn't referring to that place. The monk's voice returned, posing a second question, "Have you ever heard of the 6 divisions of gods and humans?" Li Wei shook his head again. "My apologies for the intrusion, this humble monk will take his leave." Outside the city, a monk in red robes, carrying a scripture scroll, walked through the wind and snow towards central plains, disappearing into the night and the mountains. 6 divisions of gods and humans. Li Wei murmured, stepping through the formation light veil back into the banquet hall. He questioned the true disciples and emperor's disciples from the major powers, all of whom were over a century old, well-traveled, and knowledgeable. None of them had ever heard of it. It seems the monk mistook me for someone else. Could today's battle have led to some misunderstanding? Li Wei asked himself this, his expression solemn, then sighed inwardly, deeply sensing the dangers that came with high-profile actions and ostentation. The Sword Dao Imperial City was one of the most prosperous ancient cities in southern Yingzhou, a vast life realm capital with a population in the hundreds of millions. A melting pot of diverse beings, it drew cultivators from all life realms across the south and north. Lurking in the shadows were sinister, ruthless forces like the Tiān sect, demon race, dead spirits, and demonic path cultivators, a menagerie of bizarre and malevolent entities. Southern Yingzhou was immense, encompassing 172 life realms, each teeming with hundreds of millions of sects and clans. The true extent of the colossal, forbidden, and malevolent powers hidden in the darkness remained unknown, likely beyond even the martial Dao Heavenly Emperor's comprehension. Leaving aside other things, just within the 28 prefectures of the Lingxiao realm alone, the ancient secret of immortal burial town in Li province, the reborn living spirits emerging from the depths of Chu prefecture, the Buddhist Dao imprint beneath the East Sea. Each of these phenomena concealed terrifying secrets, yet they were unrecorded and unknown to the public. What about the other 171 life realms? Li Wei might not know much other things, but he was intimately familiar with the great ancient land of the Dao of alchemy beneath the Due Calamity Crossing realm. This revealed that what one could see of Yingzhou was merely the tip of the iceberg. Beyond the realm of common knowledge lay a far more terrifying world, one that existed right alongside humanity. In today's battle, Li Wei had revealed too many secrets. He might now attract the covetous eyes of powerful figures with no prior grudges or connections, drawn by treasures like the evil camel bell, 5-colored mountain, yellow dragon sword, phoenix-winged moth emperor, or some other rare artifact. His glory was boundless. Yet the danger was equally immense. Perhaps it was a Buddhist sect from western Yingzhou. Yu Yanjun speculated. That senior likely came to inquire after witnessing you use the sixfold samsara burning karma technique, an imperial technique with Buddhist origins. Yu Wuzhen added, it could also be because you used Shan Shenzhe's Bodhi Golden Bell. The demon race and Buddhist sects in western Yingzhou are immensely powerful, suppressing even the nether realm of the dead there. Among them are 2 legendary ancestral temples, said to have been passed down from the era of ancient immortal beasts. These temples are shrouded in mystery, and countless Buddhist cultivators have spent their lives searching for their mountain gates, yet none have ever found them. Chen Weizi, the previous generation's true disciple of Calamity Crossing Temple, recounted, 10,000 years ago, our temple master was invited to one of these ancestral temples. Upon returning, he immediately entered seclusion for 2,000 years. When he later attempted to find the temple again, he couldn't even locate its mountain gate. There are rumors that the half-immortal Jade Emperor never ventured beyond eastern Yingzhou precisely because he feared certain figures among the Buddhist cultivators. This was merely a minor incident, and everyone's attention quickly returned to the Golden Holy Bone Manual. Several 8th-generation powerhouses, renowned for their extraordinary comprehension and peerless talent, immediately sat down to meditate after studying the manual, attempting to imprint the inscriptions onto their golden bones. Mo Duanfeng approached Li Wei. Rumor has it that the Bai clan is targeting you in Tangwanzhou because of Bai Chuan's death. They say Bai Chuan was the old ancestor's favorite grandson in the past 1,000 years, and that you were likely responsible for his death. Li Wei shook his head with a wry smile. Forcing Tangwanzhou into marriage and targeting me in the Immortal Ascension competition, they needed a plausible excuse. Don't be surprised if the Bai clan starts playing the victim next, seeking sympathy from the world to salvage their reputation. Suddenly, Li Wei's brow furrowed. To think they'd exploit Bai Chuan's death. Before the Immortal Ascension competition began, the Bai clan sent Bu Lianqi and the 3 talents of the Bai clan to the Cave Void Camp to investigate Bai Chuan's death, deliberately provoking a confrontation with me. Do you think that old man might have foreseen all this back then? Anticipated being scapegoated after their failure? And prepared accordingly? It's not impossible. Sending Bu Lianxi to investigate, only to dismiss the matter so lightly, is highly suspicious. Moreover, the lion-taming king had already been afflicted by the 3 lifetimes curse, and it was certain that you would inherit the jade tome of the life-preserving spring. Many things can be inferred from these facts. Mo Duanfeng pondered for a moment. Regardless, I know the truth of this matter and am a friend to both you and Bai Chuan. I will testify to your innocence. Li Wei nodded slightly, his mind gradually calming. He stopped dwelling on the matter and noticed Zhang Ning and Tang Wanzhou standing together, facing each other and communicating telepathically. Zhang Ning's dark hair cascaded to her waist, the snow-white ribbon woven through it seeming poised to slip free. Her misty eyes and lowered lashes gave her an ethereal air, as if the surrounding clamor didn't touch her. Tang Wanzhou's features were sharply defined, her brows straight and even, her neck long and graceful. Her slender waist and long, straight legs radiated a taut, powerful energy. After parting from Mo Duanfeng, Li Wei approached them with a smile. The Rice Palace's true disciple and the imperial court top scholar, 2 of the most formidable women among the 9th generation immortal ascendants, what are you discussing? Most formidable. Not necessarily, Zhang Ning replied softly, her words carrying a subtle implication. I'll go take a look at the Golden Holy Bone Manual too. Tang Wanzhou, her arms crossed behind her back, glided past Li Wei, leaving a faint, elegant fragrance in her wake as she moved toward the crowd. Li Wei and Zhang Ning exchanged a silent glance, both recalling their first meeting. A shared memory must have struck them, for they smiled simultaneously. Zhang Ning rarely smiled, and when she did, it was reserved and subtle. Li Wei sighed. Finally, we can stand together quietly, just looking at each other, like friends, like confidants, like. Back in the Lingxiao realm. Even when we were on opposing sides, I never felt this sense of distance. But I did in the East Sea, in the Void Ruins Ancient Kingdom, and in Xiaoyao capital. Do you know, since coming to this world, my most vivid memory has always been those 2 weeks on the fishing boat by the Bingju's lake. It felt like all my worries had vanished then, but it was too short-lived. You, of all people, should have more worries, Zhang Ning retorted. Otherwise, you'll just let your mind wander and spout nonsense. I prefer you when you're serious and focused, that's when you're at your most compelling. How's Hong Ting doing? She's fine, Li Wei replied. Her injuries have healed. She wanted to come, but I stopped her. She just loves causing trouble with you, Zhang Ning said. You 2 are like 2 peas in a pod, eternal troublemakers. If she came, it would only complicate things. I must thank you properly for your assistance this time. There's no need. I owe you. Give me a chance to repay you. I've gained a great fortune today. Choose any spiritual artifact you desire. Li Wei opened the cosmic pouch, cradled it in his right palm, and presented it before her eyes. Tai Sui Divine Iron, the Bronze Flame Demon Tower, the Shadowless Sword, the Sea-Suppressing Halberd, Bu Lianxi's Myriad Inscriptions Divine War Sword, Blood Eagle's Chained Artifact, and more, all were priceless treasures. Without Zhang Ning, Li Wei wouldn't have achieved such a crushing victory. He might not even have survived until the 5th quarter of the midnight hour, with only a 30 to 50% chance of success. In that scenario, Yu Yaozi and Tang Shituo would likely have forced the Sword Dao Imperial Court to compromise, rather than the other way around. Both sides had their breaking points. Zhang Ning, with her slightly plump figure, rounded chest, and jade-like complexion, met Li Wei's earnest gaze. Her crimson lips parted slightly as she spoke, I want you Li's shadowless sword. Will you give it to me? With a swift motion, Li Wei drew the shadowless sword and offered it to her, hilt first. He then retrieved a 7th-rank 1000 inscriptions artifact battle sword. This one is for Zhuang Yu. Grandpa Zhuang asked me to look after her, and I can't completely shirk my responsibility. I'll entrust her to you for now. We'll discuss the future later. Before Zhang Ning, he chose restraint, refraining from indulging in sharp-tongued banter. The Void Ruins Holy Maiden also helped. If not for her lending the Empress's scepter. Before Zhang Ning could finish, Li Wei interrupted, don't worry about her. I was the one who seized the Empress's scepter for her. She owes me a huge favor, let her repay it first. How are things at the Rice Palace? Do you want to return to the Lingxiao Palace? I can't go back. Zhang Ning sighed softly. The Zhang clan's foundations run deep, comparable to the Rice Palace in eastern Yingzhou. The Zhang clan in the Lingxiao realm is just a small branch preparing for the Rice Mother's rebirth. You don't need to worry too much about my situation. The Zhang clan is far more complex than you imagine. She sighed again, then added, your biggest problem is always wanting to help everyone, wanting to take care of everyone. You don't realize that many of your actions go beyond normal friendship, easily causing misunderstandings and disturbing others' hearts. Just because you're oblivious doesn't mean others are. Who are you referring to, Great Beauty Zhang? You, Tang Wanzhou, or someone else here? Li Wei asked with a curious smile. I'm not telling you. You're riding high now, young and successful, seeing only blooming flowers and never withering ones. You can't understand that you're delaying others, wasting their youth. Zhang Ning walked away without another word. Li Wei pondered, murmuring to himself, doing too much. This Zhang Ning always speaks in riddles. Brother Wei, congratulations. Finally, I have a chance to exchange a few words with you. Chang Yujian approached with a graceful smile, his jade-like figure radiating elegance. What's the occasion for congratulations? Li Wei asked. The Mist Celestial has regained the Emperor Psychic Realm, the Grand Palace Master has achieved a Kun Yuan Realm breakthrough, and you, recognized by both as the foremost genius of our era, isn't that cause for celebration? Chang Yujian lowered his voice. My father has been fretting about the pioneering sword these past 2 years. Is there any way to redeem it? The pioneering sword was Changshu's myriad inscriptions artifact war sword, originally wielded by Qi Jianru during the Immortal Ascension competition before Li Wei seized it. Li Wei laughed heartily. Redemption is certainly possible, provided the price is right. Uncle Shu has won quite a few spiritual crystals from me. It wouldn't be excessive to extort some back, would it? Not at all. I've already prepared it for you. Chang Yujian retrieved a foot-long jade box from his cosmic pouch and handed it to Li Wei. Li Wei opened the box, releasing a radiant, misty glow. The air filled with the fragrance of medicine and a bone-chilling aura. It was an emperor medicine, a 10,000-year jade lotus seed. The lotus root, resembling purple jade, was sealed with runes. 2 emerald green lotus leaves, glistening with moisture, looked as if they would melt at the slightest touch. This jade lotus seed has survived the minor cycle tribulation, Chang Yujian said. Once the runes are released, it can unleash the power and speed of a 7th Immortal Realm martial mystic cultivator. Be careful. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 7. The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 174 849 Leaving the City. 174th of Volume 7. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. Even plant-type first-grade Emperor medicine herbs that hadn't embarked on the path of cultivation could possess the strength and speed of the 7th realm after surviving the minor cycle tribulation. A rare few, such as the Heavenly Spirit Child and Earth Spirit Seed, could even attain transcendent grade power and speed after overcoming this trial. For cultivators like the Shixian, their combat prowess would only grow stronger after enduring the minor cycle tribulation. By this point, Li Wei possessed 4 Emperor medicine herbs. The first was his reward for being first on the Earth ranking, the second he obtained from the Transcendent Sacrificial Envoy's cosmic pouch of the Earthwolf King's army, and the third came from Lu Tianshan. Li Wei retrieved the pioneering sword and handed it to Chang Yujian. Chang Yujian stored the sword in his ancestral field and secretly transmitted a message. Actually, my visit to the Sword Dao Imperial City was at the Empress's instructions. Li Wei's heart stirred. The Empress once ventured into the undersea ocean to track the drowning soul torrent, but she couldn't find you. She instructed me to warn you, the atmosphere in Xiaoyao capital is precarious. The heavenly demon Empress has discerned the secrets hidden within you. You must exercise extreme caution, Chang Yujian said gravely. Li Wei's relaxed demeanor, which had settled after defeating the Demon Kingdom's 8th-generation immortal cultivators, instantly tightened again. He knew, of course, that even greater dangers might lie ahead after the Immortal Ascension competition concluded. However, Li Wei didn't take it too seriously. Firstly, Tang Shituo and Shui Qianshu were with him, and the Grand Palace Master would be waiting in Huo City to provide support. Secondly, no matter how fierce the internal conflicts within the human race became, the upper echelons would never rashly declare war, given the overwhelming external threats. Thirdly, with Li Wei's cultivation level, if Tang Shituo and Shui Qianshu couldn't handle the situation, his worries would be futile. Fourthly, this was the Sword Dao Imperial City, one of the 2 great metropolises of southern Yingzhou. With hundreds of millions of battle swords capable of flying out from the city, who could withstand such an attack? Would the Demon Kingdom and Demon Race dare to act recklessly here? Li Wei asked, what do you mean by, the atmosphere in Xiaoyao capital is precarious? Chang Yujian replied, after the Heavenly Demon Empress discovered the incident in the Wolf Sovereign Wilderness, the Empress didn't return to the capital but went into hiding. Yet she remains fully informed about affairs at court. Over the past 2 months, there have been unusual movements in the deployment of the Imperial Guard and Border Army. Moreover, the Demon Lords and Great Demon officials, who have been in seclusion for years, have begun to resurface. Li Wei suddenly understood. His and Chang Yulu's rescue of Zuoqiu Hongting from the undersea ocean had been exposed by the Heavenly Demon Empress's loose tongue, making it difficult to explain. If the Demon Empress were to return to Xiaoyao capital now, she would be walking into a trap. Chang Yulu's show of goodwill was primarily motivated by her desire to obtain the 4th, 5th, and 6th tier techniques of the Golden Holy Bone Manual. Suddenly, Li Wei's eyes flashed with insight. If I were Yu Baxian, and the Chang clan faction I personally cultivated were secretly colluding with my enemies, plotting their escape, what would I do? After the Immortal Ascension competition ended in failure, what options remained for Yu Baxian? How could he prolong his life? Li Wei gasped, then secretly worried about the heavenly demon empress. Had she discovered the guardian wife, or something else entirely? An overwhelming sense of impending doom descended upon him. A chill ran down Li Wei's spine as he gazed out the window. In the darkness of the Sword Dao Imperial City, countless terrifying beasts seemed to lurk, waiting to pounce and devour him whole. Below the window, Tang Shituo's massive figure entered the heavenly pavilion's gates. Fifth quarter of the midnight hour. Clang! Clang! The New Year's temple bell rang precisely at midnight, its deep, resonant tones echoing through the night sky like a mountain-sized copper pillar striking the metallic heavens. The 3-year Immortal Ascension competition had concluded. This also meant that the 100 Realms Academy's human race leaders would no longer deliberately protect Li Wei. Unpredictable dangers could now strike at any moment. Brother Yu, please thank the Demon Empress for me. I will keep my promise to her. Li Wei retrieved a token and pressed it into Chang Yujian's hand. A major upheaval is likely coming to the Demon Kingdom. I can't offer much help, but if you're ever in dire straits, come find me at the Lingxiao Palace. Chang Yujian accepted the token with a bitter smile, already sensing the storm gathering on the horizon and the uncertain future ahead. Hey! Success! It really can be imprinted onto the golden bone. Kong Chengren of Zhongsheng Academy was the first to succeed, his face beaming with joy and his spirit soaring. The other top experts of the 8th generation immortal cultivators approached him one after another, eager to inquire and exchange insights. Li Wei followed Tang Wanzhou and Tang Wanqiu out of the banquet hall's formation to greet Tang Shituo, who had hurried over from the imperial palace. Father. Old man, did you reach an agreement? The Tang siblings maintained their composure, having long since moved past their grief over separation and death. Their resolve remained unwavering. Tang Shituo nodded, his broad hand emerging from his sleeve to reveal Big Phoenix and Third Phoenix. The 2 phoenix-winged moth emperors first flew toward Tang Wanzhou, but upon spotting Li Wei, they joyfully swooped toward him instead. Boss Li, I knew you wouldn't abandon the young lord. After all, you've kissed, and more than once. Third Phoenix nuzzled Li Wei's cheek vigorously. Tang Shituo and Tang Wanqiu's gazes both fell upon Li Wei. The former narrowed his eyes, skeptical that it was merely a kiss. His gaze instantly turned hostile. The latter was astonished, clearly never imagining that his sister, the self-proclaimed young lord, would actually. Impossible. That insect must be lying. Li Wei's composure was shattered by Third Phoenix's words. How could Tang Shituo, with his shrewdness, let this opportunity slip? He waved his hand, sending the phoenix flying. Calm down first. Unaware of the trouble he'd caused, Third Phoenix landed and declared, at this moment, I can't calm down at all. I can't resist showing everyone my newly created bronze law technique for entertainment. Li Wei covered his face and signaled to Big Phoenix to drag him away. Tang Wanzhou, however, remained remarkably composed. What's so surprising? This has nothing to do with you. Stop meddling. From now on, I'll decide my own marriage. Old man. You owe me this. So stay out of it. Li Wei quickly changed the subject. I have urgent news. We must leave the city immediately. Delay could bring disaster. He then recounted the information he'd learned from Chang Yujian. Tang Shituo's expression turned solemn. He had anticipated that tonight's situation wouldn't be smooth sailing, but the reality was even more dire than he had imagined. He returned to the banquet hall. 3 8th generation immortal cultivators had already successfully imprinted the Golden Bone scripture, Kong Chengren, Mo Kui, and Chen Weizi. Li Wei adjusted his expression and demeanor, striving to appear as relaxed and natural as possible. Gentlemen, I haven't deceived you, have I? The Imperial City Sword Debate Banquet will certainly not be a wasted trip. Mo Kui's tone was urgent. Brother Li, your invitation card clearly stated that the Golden Holy Bone Manual has 3 volumes. Li Wei sighed. You are all exceptionally wise and discerning individuals. You must understand my current predicament. We suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of the Heavenly Demon Empress, and half of the 8th generation immortal cultivators dispatched by the Demon Kingdom sect to the Sword Dao Imperial City have perished. Behind this facade of prosperity lies immense danger. I have an unconventional request. Would you be willing to escort me out of the city? You don't need to go far, just to Huo City, 3,000 miles away. Once we reach Huo City, I will immediately present the complete 3 volumes of the Golden Holy Bone Manual. Of course, this depends entirely on your voluntary cooperation. I won't force anyone. The Shaoyang Division will accompany the Holy Commander, the Shaoyang Division representative declared. The members of the Shaoyang Division voiced their support one after another. The 8th generation immortal cultivators clearly understood that Li Wei intended to use them to mobilize the transcendence behind them to escort him out of the city. Could they refuse? In truth, they could not. Li Wei's overwhelming combat prowess during yesterday's battle had revealed the true value of the 3 volumes of the Golden Holy Bone Manual. While Li Wei appeared to be sharing the cultivation method with them, he was actually sharing it with the Holy Dynasty, Calamity Crossing Temple, Rice Palace, Zhongsheng Academy, and other major powers behind them. Any faction whose heavenly pride refused to participate would miss out on the 3 volumes, leaving their disciples, followers, and armies incompetitive in the immortal realm. Over time, this would create an ever-widening gap between those who possessed the 3 volumes and those who did not. Having received the 3 volumes of the Tao from you, we shall escort you 3,000 miles. This deal is a great bargain for us. Kong Chengren declared with a smile, being the first to voice his support. If the heavenly demon empress dares to target the human race's heavens chosen on our territory again, the price she pays will be far greater than the mere deaths of 3 demon kings. The combined power of the forces behind us far surpasses what the demon kingdom and the heavenly demon empress can handle. One by one, the group made their decisions, all agreeing to accompany Li Wei. Before long, the 5-dragon jade carriage slowly emerged from the South City Heavenly Pavilion, personally driven by Tang Shituo. Shui Qianshu followed behind. Boom. As the new year began, fireworks filled the sky. The streets buzzed with festive cheer. Firecrackers crackled incessantly, and painted lanterns soared like rain toward the sky. Inside the carriage, Li Wei retrieved the 2nd volume of the Golden Holy Bone Manual, offering copies to everyone. Li Wei stepped out of the carriage. Ahead, Tang Shituo stood tall and imposing, his broad shoulders and thick back radiating power. His senses were fully extended, alert to any danger. In the shadows flanking the carriage, the faint silhouettes of transcendence from various major powers could be glimpsed. Tang Wanzhou also emerged, standing beside Li Wei. With so many powerful protectors and the martial Dao Heavenly Emperor awaiting us, who would dare attack? Tang Shituo replied, before we left, the left sword attendant whispered something strange to me. He said, within the imperial city, there's no need to fear danger. At the time, I thought it was just polite formality. Now I realize he was warning me that danger awaited us beyond the city walls. Or perhaps he was telling me that the Sword Dao Imperial Court wouldn't allow transcendent-level battles to erupt within the city. But once we left, they would stand aside, offering no assistance to either side. If I'm not mistaken, the Demon Kingdom's leaders must have promised them significant benefits for this decision. It all comes down to profit. Li Wei said, the Sword Dao Imperial Court wants to reap the benefits without offending anyone or suffering any losses. No matter the outcome, they'll emerge as winners. Lion Taming King, what terms did the Grand Palace Master negotiate with them? The Grand Palace Master will designate a region along the East Sea coast, shrouded by the Nether Realm of the Dead, and lease it to the Sword Dao Imperial Court. Once they conquer that territory, they can manage it as they see fit. Tang Shituo added, the immortal Dao Dragon Vein of the East Sea has already drawn the Rice Palace and Calamity Crossing Temple into the fray. With the Flying Phoenix backing the Zhao clan, the Nether Realm of the Dead will undoubtedly make its move. The Grand Palace Master can't simply expel the Sword Dao Imperial Court, she needs to use them to counterbalance the major powers. Of course, this also represents a concession, both sides have compromised. Perhaps this is the best possible outcome. Li Wei pondered inwardly. If yesterday's battle had trapped him in a fatal predicament, and the Grand Palace Master and Tang Shituo had been forced to compromise to save him, what demands would the Sword Dao Imperial Court have made? Now, the Grand Palace Master has far greater room to maneuver. She could easily overlap the territory promised to the Sword Dao Imperial Court with areas claimed by the Rice Palace, Calamity Crossing Temple, and Zhao clan, naturally sparking conflict among them. As the city gates came into view, Li Wei grew anxious and hurried back into the carriage to check on Zhang Ning and the others. In the event of an overwhelming and unavoidable danger, he could first transport them into the blood mud space. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 7. The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 175 850 Demon Monarch. 175th of Volume 7. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. The jade carriage rolled out of the city. Drawn by 5 dragon souls, it soared low above the ground. Behind them, the magnificent city gradually receded, its dense lights were replaced by the deep, cold darkness of the night. The space in front of the carriage was empty and dark, as if they were driving into an abyss that devoured all light. Tang Shituo, his long hair braided behind his head, stood tall outside the palace-sized carriage. His tiger-like eyes seemed to pierce through the illusions in the darkness. Above him floated the immortal slaying sword, a supreme artifact passed down through generations, connected to the surging river of spiritual chi emanating from his 100 wisdoms. The immortal slaying sword had a broad and gleaming blade. The bone-chilling cold emanating from the sword's edges permeated heaven and earth. Its resonant vibration and hum, imbued with profound spirituality, deterred all malevolent forces. His chi connected the heavens and the earth, his sword intent triggering a dramatic shift in the celestial phenomenon itself. Low-hanging clouds blanketed the sky, unleashing a blizzard of heavy snow. Shui Qianshu carried a bronze serpent head spear, following on the ground. His legs were propelled by wind, his feet treading upon inscriptions that covered tens of thousands of miles of mountains and rivers as he crossed vast waterways, probing the depths below. Through his senses, he detected the powerful figures from the Calamity Crossing Temple, Holy Dynasty, Zhongsheng Academy, Rice Palace, and other major powers, each renowned for their formidable powers. These were beings whose mere presence could shake an entire life realm. For instance, Cheng Dun, ranked among the top 5 figures at Zhongsheng Academy. The powerhouses from various factions were both protecting the 8th-generation immortal cultivators and preparing to journey to Huo City to pay respects to the newly ascended martial mystic Dao Heavenly Emperor. With only a handful of such figures in southern Yingzhou, they would inevitably have to pay their respects sooner or later, making this journey a convenient opportunity. With this kind of situation, tonight's formation will either remain uneventful or erupt into a cataclysmic event. We must prevent any chaos. The human race's leadership cannot afford internal strife. Shui Qianshu's heart was heavy with worry. As the deputy sentinel lord of the Sentinel Spirit Army, he knew many secrets and understood the terrifying nature of the Nether Realm and the precariousness of humanity's survival. Standing atop a towering peak, he glanced back. The walls and lights of Sword Dao Imperial City were now distant specks on the horizon, swallowed by the deep darkness. With only scattered lights dotted the outskirts. The winding river reflected a faint glow through the swirling snow. Faintly, Shui Qianshu glimpsed a fleeting silhouette of a woman on the city walls, hundreds of miles away. He couldn't tell if it was the Heavenly Demon Empress. Backed by a powerful figure and second only to the martial Dao Heavenly Emperor in strength, the Heavenly Demon Empress acted with unrestrained arrogance, daring anyone to cross her path for fear of retribution. Today, 2 demon race experts with the potential to ascend to the ranks of Demon King, whom she had brought to the Sword Dao Imperial City, had been slain. With her reputation tarnished, Shui Qianshu wouldn't have been surprised if she retaliated against him. The Grand Palace Master has already achieved the Xuanhuan realm breakthrough. Surely she wouldn't dare. Sensing an unusual surge of qi, Shui Qianshu abruptly looked upward. Above the 5-dragon jade carriage, the dark clouds parted as if cleaved by an unseen force from beyond the heavens, or as if the sky itself had been torn asunder by colossal hands, revealing the deeper, more distant starry expanse. The clouds split into 2, drifting apart to the left and right. At the center of the parted clouds, a figure no larger than a black speck hung suspended against the backdrop of the cosmos. The figure, embedded against the starry sky, was too distant to discern its identity. Only its feminine silhouette and terrifying aura could be perceived. Crackling. Golden heavenly lightning erupted from her body, spreading like a spiderweb across the void, reaching thousands of miles in every direction. It was Waterfall Golden Heavenly Lightning. The Waterfall Golden Heavenly Lightning was many times more powerful than Azure Nether Lightning. In southern Yingzhou, every thunder-type expert who cultivated Waterfall Golden Heavenly Lightning was renowned, a regional overlord. If not a life realm lord themselves, they were honored guests of such a lord. The golden waterfall of heavenly lightning poured down like a celestial river, carrying the earth-shattering force of cosmic world destruction as it crashed toward the 5-dragon jade carriage below. The entire void seethed, the thunderous roar echoing through the mountains. Second Palace Master, I hope you're well. Has your Nirvana heavenly core recovered? Tang Shituo's words exposed the attacker's identity. He channeled his spiritual qi and inscriptions, conjuring illusory snow mountains that enveloped the 5-dragon jade carriage. Above, the immortal slaying sword, radiating supreme authority, unleashed a peerless strike that cleaved through the liquid waterfall golden heavenly lightning, scattering its droplets. Each droplet erupted into a golden thunder and lightning bolt as thick as a bowl. The sword qi surged toward Xuanhuan, who hovered beyond the heavens. The second palace master possessed formidable cultivation and combat prowess, particularly excelling in thunder techniques and sword techniques. Within the Lingxiao realm, only the Grand Palace Master dared to claim a certain victory against her. However, after the battle at Cloud Heaven Immortal Plane, the Mist Heavenly Emperor had shattered her heavenly core and psychic star. How much of her combat strength remained? It was still unknown. Boom. The 5-dragon jade carriage plummeted to the ground, crushing a mountain and burying vast swaths of forest. Fresh earth churned, and the mountains split apart. Tang Shituo's eyes remained fixed on the sky. He saw that the second palace master, having missed her attack, immediately transformed into thunder and lightning, fleeing to evade the immortal slaying sword. This is too strange. Why would she be the one to attack? Tang Shituo, deeply familiar with the Demon Kingdom's factional conflicts, knew the second palace master was the least likely to make such a move tonight. What gave her the audacity to appear near the Grand Palace Master, who had just achieved a Xuanhuan realm breakthrough? Did she not realize she was the Grand Palace Master's most coveted target for assassination? As expected. Whoosh. The sky transformed into a sea of thunder and lightning, spiritual qi churning wildly. An overwhelming supreme aura surged from the distance, sweeping across the sky and pursuing the second palace master's retreating figure. The Lingxiao Palace's supreme artifact, the Thunder Tribulation Bracelet, materialized as a colossal jade bracelet a mile in diameter. Hovering in the void like a thunderous sun, its aura blazed with terrifying majesty. On the ground, Tang Shituo, Shui Qianshu, Cheng Dun, and the other top transcendents positioned around the five-dragon jade carriage held their breath, their qi stilled, all sensing a soul-shattering pressure. Though each was a powerful overlord capable of commanding wind and rain, none doubted that the Thunder Tribulation Bracelet, unleashing its full supreme power, could obliterate them into blood mist and dust with a single strike. This was a feat only the martial Dao Heavenly Emperor could accomplish. The Grand Palace Master had struck across the void, aiming to kill the second Palace Master. Within the five-dragon jade carriage, all the younger generation cultivators froze in place. The sudden plunge and the overwhelming power of the supreme artifact had thrown them into a panic, leaving them in disbelief. How is this possible? Who would dare to do this? Judging by the lion-taming king's voice, it seems to be second Palace Master Xuanhuan of the Lingxiao Palace. But wasn't her cultivation crippled? She's the crown princess and a top-tier powerhouse. The Demon Kingdom has a secret technique to implant another person's nirvana heavenly core into one's own body, but it's a crude method. It prevents further cultivation, drastically reduces combat power, and carries the risk of the core exploding, killing the host. The Demon Kingdom's treasury is overflowing with transcendent nirvana heavenly cores, including even the Heavenly Emperor's core, Chang Yujian speculated. The second Palace Master couldn't have come alone. Zhang Ning murmured. As the second Palace Master's disciple, she knew her master's temperament well. Li Wei retrieved a transcendent Dao technique given to him by Lu Tianshan, which was stored within a 7th grade 1000 inscriptions artifact ring. A bizarre scene unfolded inside the carriage. Fine dust floated upward, emitting a metallic glow. The metal walls rapidly liquefied into water, while the jade floor beneath their feet transformed into wood. What is this? Li Wei's heart pounded as he sensed the five elements around him twisting into chaos. This could only be achieved by someone who had cultivated the laws of the five elements to an extremely high level. In the entire southern Yingzhou, only 2 individuals possessed such profound Taoist techniques, the Temple Master of Calamity Crossing Temple and the Demon Monarch. The 5 cities 5 elements formation that protected Xiaoyao capital was the Demon Monarch's self-created formation. With a thunderous boom, a sudden and intense sensation of weightlessness slammed into everyone inside the carriage. The palace-sized compartment plunged into the earth, hurtling forward in a bizarre manner. The veteran powerhouses guarding the 5-dragon jade carriage were horrified to see the ground beneath their feet liquefy, crushing the 5 dragon souls and swallowing the entire carriage. Tang Shituo reacted fastest, roaring and pointing his finger at the ground. The immortal slaying sword descended from the sky, transforming into a brilliant cascade of blades that plunged into the earth. Boom! The liquid ground instantly solidified into black iron-like metal, covering an area spanning dozens of miles. The immortal slaying sword struck the surface with a resounding clang, and the shockwave shattered 2 nearby mountain peaks. A great cultivator has activated a 5 elements capture formation underground, heading west. Pursue them. Cheng Zhao's formidable psychic power detected the jade carriage's subterranean trajectory. Whoosh! Whoosh! Tang Shituo and Shui Qianshu pursued westward, their speed reaching its peak. The former employed the spatial imperial technique, his figure leaping across the ground. The latter unleashed the 8 fiends' primordial gale, 6 feathered wings extending from his back. The carriage had completely melted away, or rather, vaporized. Even as the ancient Heavenly Emperor's personal conveyance, it proved utterly vulnerable against the current Heavenly Emperor's techniques. Li Wei realized that he and the young cultivators around him were trapped within a 5-colored amber, their bodies frozen in place, unable to move or release spiritual qi or spiritual light. He fared slightly better, having remained highly vigilant, allowing him to observe his surroundings. The others, however, were petrified, their gazes frozen in place. Is this the difference between facing a Xuanhuan realm expert and Heavenly Emperor? Against the Heavenly Emperors, I could summon the Dao Ancestors Tai Chi fish. Against the martial Dao Heavenly Emperor, I can do nothing. Whoosh! The 5-colored amber encasing them shot out of the ground and soared into the air. Clang! The immortal slaying sword's blade rammed out, streaking across the night sky like a meteor, slashing at the spiritual connection between the 5-colored amber and the Demon Monarch. The Demon Monarch, ever cautious, remained hidden in the shadows, casting his technique from afar. In the dark night, a stream of inky demonic qi surged from the ground toward the sky. The demonic qi pulled the surrounding earth upward, churning mud and stone into a black iron mountain peak over 1,000 meters tall, blocking the immortal slaying sword. This was the advantage of the laws. Not only did it alter the terrain, but it could also transform matter in an instant, changing its 5 elements attributes. The 8 fiends primordial chaos wind and Shui Qianshu flew over the metal mountain, only to be struck down by a massive palm imprint that materialized in the void. The wind force dissipated, and the wind fiend shrieked as its body hurtled backward, carving a valley tens of miles long into the ground. Tang Shituo had no time to retrieve the immortal slaying sword. He leapt through space, appearing above the five-colored amber, spreading his arms wide. His blood surged like a river as the sea of inscriptions from the Nirvana inscriptions enveloped the younger generation. Whoosh! A crimson beam of light shot horizontally from the space between heaven and earth. Thin and razor-sharp, it sliced through mountain peaks in its path, hurtling toward Tang Shituo. Before Tang Shituo, characters from the earthly tome materialized, momentarily blocking the crimson light. Seizing this fleeting moment, Tang Shituo grabbed the immortal slaying sword, hoisting it like a tombstone on his back, and clashed with the crimson light. PFF'd. PFF'd. Tang Shituo and Cheng Dun, who had unleashed the earthly tome, simultaneously coughed up blood and collapsed to the ground, helpless to watch as the younger generation were captured and carried away. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.